Mister Jangle. He can stretch, he can bend, he's wackier than Slender Man. Just don't give him hugs. Meet Mister Jangle. Mister Jangle looks friendly, but do take care not to be within 20 feet of him. Mister Jangle is a contortionist on a level never before seen in all of history. He can bend, twist and contort his form into any shape he wants. His body is mostly composed of a cartilage-like material. Unlike human bones, these allow him to squash and stretch himself as needed. Mister Jangle looks like a straw dummy or a melted mannequin, but that wooden texture of his skin is rough and leathery. It's also very oily, which helps the creature slide into and out of places. The oily quality of his skin, along with the squishiness of his body, means that Mister Jangle can squeeze through vents and get into otherwise inaccessible rooms without much difficulty. A locked door is no barrier. He can twist himself into the smallest of places in order to surprise people. Mister Jangle doesn't speak either. He rarely makes a noise even when moving, and when he does make noise, it tends to be a highly pitched, emotive hum. It almost sounds like the giggling of a small child, but more highly pitched. Such sounds tend to disturb people, especially as Mister Jangle likes to occasionally make these sounds while travelling through the vents. That is, when he isn't planning on surprising the person that he's looking for. And he does love surprising people, by popping out of an unexpected place and then hugging the person he was looking for. And he loves to hug. He loves to hug so much that he never wants to let go of the person. All Mister Jangle wants to do is squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until pop! Usually something inside the person that he's hugging explodes. In more extreme cases where he wraps his arms around himself and his new friend, his hugs can cause all of that person's organs to be forced out through the mouth. Sometimes it's the other exit. Both are unpleasant to witness. But even though Mister Jangle is sneaky and can out-hug a bear, he's not hard to actually escape from. Because all his limbs have all sorts of bends and twists in them. It actually makes it hard for Mister Jangle to walk, much less run, in a straight line. It gets very wobbly and unbalanced if Mister Jangle tries to walk like a human. So, for him to move effectively, he relies on acrobatics. Things like cartwheels, front flips, back flips, and even backward spider walking. By default, if Mister Jangle isn't crawling across walls or ceilings, he tends to be moving around like a pretty musical spider. Yes, thanks to his amazing grip strength, Mister Jangle can crawl across walls or ceilings. He likes to wait up high, as most people don't look up all that often. It usually leaves them open for a hug from above, something he has used to great effect to the misfortune of the people he likes to hug. When he is hugging the person he caught, Mister Jangle always makes a distressed noise at the mess he makes of a person. It's hard to believe that he actually feels sad since, as always, he has that massive smile on his face, one that stretches from ear to ear. That smile, too, is pretty twisted. If you ever got close enough to Mister Jangle to see his smile up close, well, you'd be way too close for comfort. But what you'd also find is that Jangle has teeth that are serrated and shark-like, growing in multiple rows. The teeth are easy to break off and are amazingly sharp. Mister Jangle likes to sharpen those teeth on various materials. Trees, rocks, steel poles, one can occasionally find him humming while chewing on some tough material. He'll occasionally even lose some teeth, biting into something that was too hard for his teeth to handle. Luckily, he shares another similarity with sharks. His teeth constantly grow back, even if much more rapidly than a shark. And, like a shark, the next row of teeth that grow will be much more sharp and durable than the last pair that broke. This gives Mister Jangle a really dangerous bite. Combined with how strong he is, when Mister Jangle wants to, he can rip away huge chunks of flesh. It can happen in an instant. A sudden, intense pain, and the next thing they know, a chunk of them is missing. But he only does this when upset or hungry, or just bored with hugging people. Sometimes just because he wants the exercise. Mister Jangle is the type to stay healthy and active, constantly moving, constantly interacting with people, all for the purpose of meeting as many people as possible. The best thing to do upon seeing Mr. Jangle is to run. He doesn't have extra strong senses, nor can he track people effectively. So, breaking line of sight and putting as much distance as possible between you and Mr. Jangle will help keep you from his hugs or affectionate bites. If one has to attack, then getting up close and personal will be a mistake. That'll put you within Mr. Jangle's deceptively long range. The best tools to use for restraining Mr. Jangle would be a net or bolo. Using something to tie up his limbs will keep Mr. Jangle from moving as he usually does. After he's completely tangled up, either escape or attack. Agents are known to use tranq darts, however, various gas bombs have been found to be effective on Mr. Jangle as well. Recovery is a priority, as several researchers are curious about the composition of Mr. Jangle's body, especially the skeletal system that can shift from almost water fluidity to steel rigidness and hardness. All in all, don't let him hug you,